Coming up on the Talking Truth podcast, at least if we can agree that the questions point to a type, then there's some measure of validity to this test.
Receiving. 2. Ethically be. 1. More fun. 7. I often lose myself in my own dreams and fantasies.
Ooh, okay.
There's 2 here.
Yeah.
Let's say them both at the same time. On 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Ooh. Oh, okay.
Ooh.
All right. We have a disagreement here. I'm expecting near unanimous. So there's some 6-1
6-1
controversy in this question. The tests don't give you this context. So at the end of the day, you got people who don't really understand the system, but they just know, I don't want to be my type anymore because I read all this. That's one of the problems.
But some people have their whole life is a blind spot. And I'm just picturing them like taking these tests and just being like, oh yes, I'm very loyal. And I'm like, no, you ain't, bruh.
Yeah. Yeah.
You ain't loyal. Like now I want to be like, let me take the test for you. Let me take your test for you.
All right, welcome back to the Talking Truth podcast. We got Brett in the house today.
What's up?
Yeah, so that means that we are doing an Enneagram Observers episode. We're doing a deep dive into an Enneagram topic today.
That's right.
And so let's just get started with it, Brett. I did something that I haven't done in 6 years. So
is that like work a real job?
Oh,
take a shower.
Oh man.
Be a nice person. Be cool. What now? I'm wondering. There's a lot of things you haven't done in 6 years, Elliot.
I thought we were talking about Enneagram Tests today, but it looks like you just gave me my own multiple choice that I have to try to weed out.
Yeah.
All of the above is the answer. Man. Is that an option?
No.
E, all of the above.
Yeah. What? Now I'm curious though. What'd you do?
Okay, so I took a test. So basically, as I've been doing this podcast, a lot more kind of friends or acquaintances or people who I don't necessarily know in the Enneagram world are kind of getting curious about it and coming to me and asking, like, what test would you recommend? Or even my friend wants to take a test. Like, what should you recommend? And in general, you hear this repeated often by Enneagram teachers or people in the community, like, well, tests aren't really the best. And I'm totally on board with that. I don't like tests.
Yeah, me neither.
If it's up to me, I'd probably get rid of them. But at the same time, when someone texts you and it's like, my friend wants to take a test, it's not time to give a big lecture on why Enneagram tests aren't the best thing. So for the longest time, I've just kind of acquiesced and been like, all right, here, they can take this free test because they always want to take a free test. But I've been getting a lot more feedback in recent times. People like, that test isn't free. I asked for a free test.
Yeah, and it shows up at the end now, right? It lets you take the whole test, and then it'll be like, "Oh, sorry, you wanted your results? Well, it looks like you got to pay this hidden fee with your email."
Some even advertise free tests, and it's to take the test is free, but if you want the results, then you have to pay.
Which makes me think that there's some unhealthy 3 behind all this. Making a profit,
a little deceptiveness to get you in the door, but then hidden fees or barriers to entry or that kind of thing.
Yep.
So anyway, a lot of tests that were once free aren't free anymore. Some tests I used to recommend. So it got me thinking.
Do you think that's Biden's fault? I know it's his fault. Oh God, he's ruining everything. Makes the Enneagram test not free.
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
Or Obama or Bush or however
insert your political enemy.
Yes. So anyway, I gotta see what I'm recommending. I have to go back in time. I have to retake an Enneagram test. And it was long and it was painful and it was boring because pretty much every question I knew exactly what it was asking, exactly what it was trying to get at. So personally for me, it's kind of like a waste of time. But anyway, I thought some interesting episode ideas would come out of this. So I wanted to go through this test with you. For people getting into the Enneagram, I think it can be informative and entertaining. They're still kind of learning about what nature a type has or what traits or what beliefs. So if we go through these questions and kind of pick out, that question is about, it's asking, you said this the other day when I brought the episode up.
Yeah, it's like when a question comes up, it might as well be asking you, are you a 1?
Yeah.
Are you a 4? Are you like, as soon as you get some knowledge about the Enneagram, the tests start kind of like falling apart because you can't answer them with like the purity and the innocence that might be like ideal to take the test with.
Right. So, but this is going to give people, just fill in that picture of what each type is kind of about and what's associated with them more. Although if you're interested in Enneagram tests, it might be somewhat of a spoiler, but hey,
Yeah.
we're not the biggest fans anyway. But then I think it's going to help us answer the question, are Enneagram tests valid?
Right. And do you have an answer for that question?
Well, we're going to approach, first of all, I want to kind of define validity, because I'm referring to, I took a lot of kind of research design subjects in college. So when people generally may say validity, they might, it means like, is this worth my time? Is the Enneagram spiritual? Is the Enneagram useful? Is the Enneagram pseudoscience? Is it valid? Can kind of mean all these different things. But in the sense of just test validity means a specific thing, the degree to which the test measures what it claims to measure.
Right.
All right, so this is a test saying if you answer these questions, it's going to give you back your Enneagram type.
Right.
So test validity, though, is an important construct in general. So I got a couple examples just to drive this point home.
Okay.
Take the most kind of concrete thing, a scale. It's a test that is supposed to give you back weight, right? You put something on the scale and it gives you back a concrete measurement that we can all agree.
I don't know, man. I think scales gaslight me. Like, it always tells me something that's like higher than what I think it is.
Well, that's the problem.
And I'm like, this is wrong. Like, I'm not that much.
So yes, maybe you just always go on, generally scales are valid measurements of weight, but you could have an uncalibrated scale that somehow always just gives you the wrong weight, Brett, and makes you feel self-conscious. But when we're talking about psychological texts, which are more, or types, which is more of a kind of abstract concept, validity, the degree to which it measures what it claims to measure. We can't just put Enneagram types on a scale or test them via a blood draw, right? There's not a concrete physical thing that we can look to and say, aha, if you have this, then that's your Enneagram type. So one way to get at the validity of that is something called inter-rater reliability, which is the extent to which two experts or observers agree on the measurement. So that's what we're going to do with this test. We're both going to go through all of the questions and we're going to see, do we agree that this question on this Enneagram test is pointing to that type?
Okay.
Because, right, a good Enneagram test should have questions that are more or less specific or exclusive to a certain type.
A good one, a good Enneagram test
Yes.
does that? Okay.
A bad one would be, I like people.
Right.
I'm introverted. I consider myself extroverted. I like chocolate. It wouldn't be obvious how those questions then lead to you're this type and not that type.
Got it. But I mean, this is going to get muddy pretty quick because in the same way that you can't be too generic with the questions, I don't think you should be too specific.
Okay.
With a test. And that also, I'm sure we'll get into this later, but it almost seems like there's a element of, it's almost like most people are going to be underqualified, like they're not self-aware enough to take a psychological test about themselves, or they're like us, where we're like overqualified, where we nerd out about the Enneagram. So as soon as a word comes up, we're like, I know what they're asking.
Yes.
And it's like, I don't know if that's the test's fault, that people are in general like not great with these tests, but I guess that's a whole nother topic I'm sure we'll get into at the end.
Yeah, I want to get into why do you think it's a problem if the question is too specific? It's playing its card too much. Is that the idea?
It's not a problem if you're in that middle, if you're in that sweet spot for test takers where you have some self-awareness, but you don't know too much about the Enneagram. Then the specific questions are good.
Yeah.
But if you have, just very specific questions and a lot about the Enneagram, like it just starts getting into
certainly. So any psychological test, in summary, the problem, there's always the issue of honesty and self-awareness of the taker. And also just the idea, recommended often that you take the test when you're generally yourself. You're not unusually stressed or rushed or going through something that is not kind of generally you, although sometimes that's even difficult because life keeps moving and things keep happening. But to get back to it, at least if we can agree that the questions point to a type, then there's some measure of validity to this test if the experts can, and that's even how you might design tests like this, not just one person coming up with questions, but a panel of people, going through the questions and seeing if they can agree that this question is a good way of trying to assess, depending on how a person answers it, that they're this type.
Right.
So anyway, that's what we're going to do. Let's get into it.
All right. So should I read the first couple?
Sure.
I'll just start with this. Okay. I try to do things according to ethical and moral
principles.
Yep. Look, they even doubled down on it too. As if that first part wasn't one-ish enough. I criticize myself a lot internally if I'm not able to do so.
Okay. So new thing, we should answer every question. Like this is, it's 5 degrees from very false to very true. We should answer every question in the middle. And then I want to see what type it gives us. You might will it give us a 9, right? Because they say 9s are kind of in the middle of the Enneagram and they see the broad perspective, and sometimes they feel like they could be or relate to every type. So I want to see if we answer every question in the dead middle. Are we going to be a 9?
I like this hypothesis. Now I'm invested. All right. Should we keep going?
Yes.
Okay. I often embody the image of success for others, and that motivates me. 3.
All right. I agree.
When I have free time, I often choose to use it to help someone else. 2.
All right.
I am very knowledgeable. Yeah, all right. 5. Yeah, that's rock, paper, scissors, 5. Okay, I'm very knowledgeable and I can be competent, but I'm not really sociable. Geez, they just loaded on the 5 stereotypes.
Yep,
we didn't even need them all. I like to have lots of possibilities.
Wait. 1, 2, 3, 7.
Yeah, I didn't even finish it. Lots of possibilities. There's several nice things planned to do, and it can make me feel bored. That's another 7 trigger word. When I only have one thing to do. Okay, yeah, that's definitely 7.
One thing to do or one available option, yes.
Yes, right.
All right.
I often lose myself in my own dreams and fantasies.
Ooh, okay.
There's 2 here.
Yeah.
Let's say them both at the same time. On 3, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Ooh. Oh, okay. Ooh. All right. We have a disagreement here. I'm expecting near unanimous, but I often lose myself in my own dreams and fantasies. Yeah, that's
I see why you would say 9. I'm gonna Control Shift 3 this to screenshot it because we disagreed. Oh shit, was that not the shortcut? Command Shift 3?
Yes.
There, I got it.
Okay, so I'm writing down the ones that we disagree with and lose myself in. So you made the case. We both said 4, right?
Definitely 4
so
was
there's
the
a 4,
first one.
and then you said 5, which is fair.
It'd
Intellectual,
be like
cerebral, and particularly the 4 wing or aspect of it bringing the dreams and fantasies. But then 9s also have it's all the withdrawn, the introverted. A lot of time to myself with the 4, 5, 9 withdrawn triangle. Yeah, you could make a case that could be several types.
I think, like the 5, I think is like an intellectual, daydreamy fantasy, and the 9 is kind of just pleasant daydreams or fantasies.
or like psychedelic fantasies.
Psychedelic, yeah.
And then 4 is like the final fantasy. What avatar do I want to play today? Kind of fantasy.
Yeah, it's very specific, personalized fantasies.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I spend a lot of my free time instead of doing other things. Thanks for that. Thanks for those parentheses, Enneagram Test. I spend a lot of my free time instead of doing other things, studying and learning new things of all kinds. Okay, do we need to go further? I'll finish
5.
it. Yeah. And all this for the main reason of accumulating even more knowledge, which often won't even be useful in practice.
That's funny because it's like 5s would be like, yeah, I'm on board with that. And it's like, what do you mean it's not useful in practice?
Yeah. It might be. You never know. I mean, maybe that's some 6 to be prepared, but yeah. Like,
All right.
Yeah, I think there might be some. I can rant about Atlantis for like years, and I think there might be a reason. It might be practical.
Yes.
Okay. I often feel the need to have control over my environment. 1, 2, 3, 8.
All right.
The feeling of injustice pushes me. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 1. I tend to avoid making long-term commitments, even when they interest me, for the main reason that I don't want to miss out on other possible experiences. 1, 2, 3, 7. I appreciate being admired by others for my success. 3.
1, 2, 3, 3.
Okay, I gave up. I gave up the counting of 1, 2, 3 because
we gotta rush through this.
But it's also maybe confusing because they're numbers. So we're gonna do this and then answer.
We're just gonna do eye contact.
Okay, yeah. I'm very good at listening to what others have to say and often have a lot of patience with them. 9.
4. Ooh, okay. Okay, yeah, the listening to what others, this is the second one. Listen to what others say and patience. The listen to what others say gives me a 4, and then the patience thing might give me a 9. Yeah, I think that, because 4s, again, very empathetic. We talked about them having the vibe of a journal, or, someone that you could kind of talk to and really spill out what you're going through. And they can be patient listeners in that.
I want to be a hater on 4s. Actually, I don't think they're that. They're not.
But then they can be self-absorbed.
They're self-absorbed. Like a lot of times, if I'm talking to like a really 4-ish 4, I notice that they're like, it's almost like they're weirdly enough, 7s do this too, but they're waiting to like give their own take on their experience with it, and it's like there's almost a subtle like, hurry up so I can like expand upon my profound experiences with this.
Fair enough. So actually, I think this could be a 4 or 9 question, but perhaps it is a better 9 question.
Yes. 1 point for Papa Slim. I have a very patient and tolerant nature, and it takes a lot to disappoint me. 9.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I love and feel much more comfortably giving in whatever form than receiving. 2. I'm often bothered because things are not as they should ethically be. 1. I tend to make things interesting, enjoyable, and more fun. 7. I think you can make an argument for 3, but I think they're getting at a 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I have a sort of internal... 1.
Let's finish the question for context. That constantly oversees my thoughts and actions to ensure that what I do is in line with moral principles. Yeah, 1. In Freud terms, people often use like the super ego analogy. If you look that up, it kind of speaks to that. Ones have a strong super ego. So yeah.
I look to have fun. 7.
Yeah, and attracted to new experiences. So yeah, these questions are all, put fun, put new, put exciting, put
possibilities.
Yes, and it's probably going to be a question about a 7. Okay.
I tend to detect errors.
Keep reading.
Okay. I tend to detect errors down to the last detail and to be tempted to correct them, even when they are not my own. Good point, Elliot, that I kept reading, because I was thinking a certain number and now I'm thinking a different one.
Detect errors down to the last detail. Right. You did detect errors. You're kind of thinking
6.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I was thinking 6 when I detect errors, because it's like they're like scanners for things that could go wrong.
Tempted to correct them, yeah, even when they're not my. So there's some 6-1
6-1
controversy in this question.
I would say this is probably a 1 question though, more than a 6.
Tempted to correct them even when they're not my own.
That makes it 1.
Yeah.
I tend to avoid things that are too common and too attracted to many things that may seem strange to most people.
And to be attracted to many things that may.
Sorry, I can't read.
What type is that?
The type that can't read.
No,
dyslexic.
Yeah. All right.
A dyslexic. Yo. Okay, let me read it again. I tend to avoid things that are too common and to be attracted to many things that may seem strange to most people. 4.
Yeah. This is the attraction to the unique and the kind of dark and the moody. Yeah.
My desire to have fun and new experiences is very frequent and easily outweighs most of my other emotions. 7.
I'm getting sick of these 7 questions.
These are overloaded with 7 questions. The vast majority of the time, I'm the one deciding what we're going to do when I'm with friends or a partner. 8.
All right.
I enjoy maintaining pleasant and comfortable routines.
I'm going to write this down. I think we can make a case for several on this. So I'm going to write this down as a pleasant and comfortable routines. Okay. I got my type. Let's 1, 2, 3 this one.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 9. Okay. Let's give the rationale. The pleasant, you could
Pleasant and comfortable.
And also just the routine aspect of it, because that gives me the one, you're a gut type. So the physical surroundings and the feeling comfortable or something in your body, a body type with the routines, but then the aspect of pleasant and comfortable makes it lean 9 to me.
And ones can actually be, or 9s can be pretty particular with like, it's a different type of particularity, but like there's spaces, like their living rooms or whatever. You might think, oh, it's like a slob, but like I think a healthy 9, I like this pillow because it's comfy and I put it here, and like I like when it's clean because it does this.
Yeah.
Like the vibes they're about vibes,
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep moving. I much prefer things to be planned rather than improvising. I have an answer.
1, 2, 3,
6.
1. Yeah. I think planned rather than improvise. I think you could make a case for 1 on this. I think you could make a case for 6 on this. I think you could, in some cases, even make a case for 5 on this.
Yep.
Because I want to be planned so I can appear competent. And if I don't get a chance to think it out, then I'm not.
I mean, if that's the case, you could make a case for 3, because you plan out your
planned rather than. I don't like this question. I think
this is a bad question.
Yeah.
Okay. I have an adaptable and sociable nature and find it easy to join the social circles that I would like to be a part of.
Speaking of the type we just mentioned, 3. All right.
I need to be the leader of the team to feel comfortable. 8. I have strong self-control and feel the need to live with integrity according to moral principles. 1. I love spending time doing things for another person and making sure they are comfortable and satisfied. And I like it better when I'm the one doing it more often than the other person. 2. I think with it, like the more obvious the question is, I'm going to say it in more of a
I like it.
2.
Yeah.
I have a lot more difficulty expressing what I feel than sharing my theories, concepts, and analyses.
5.
Yeah, this is 100% a 5 one. Okay. I accept others as they are, avoid judging them, and often adapt to them in order to maintain a peaceful atmosphere. 9. I'm getting annoyed at my own.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of.
We're gonna have a lot of these. It's just gonna be that voice the whole time. I tend to imagine the worst case scenario and emotionally prepare myself for it.
Worst case 6.
6. I am quieter than most people, and they often ask me what I'm thinking about. Okay.
1, 2, 3, 9.
5.
Ooh.
Again.
Quieter than most. Again, I think you could go with withdrawn. You could go 4, 5, 9. But I think, to me, ask me what I'm thinking about. Sometimes 5s can be, you're quiet, but then if you say something stupid, they're going to go off on you, or they're going to take the time to really share their theory, or just rattle on like, oh my God, you got to know about the intricacies of this drag car that I'm building. Yeah,
there's like a buzzing invisible electric fence that I think makes people not want to ask a 5 what they're thinking about. Where it's like, a 9,
talked about
a 9 might be like, oh, they're pleasantly, I wonder what they're thinking about. Where it's like a 5, you're like, I don't know. There's something that makes me not want. I don't want to open a can of worms with you.
So that's why I think that the quieter could be the 4, 5, 9, but I think that the ask me what I'm thinking about probably hints to because the whole idea of like 9s won't kind of insert themselves or their opinions. So I think the second part of the question leans more strongly to 9. But
I think you're right. Yeah, I think that it probably is a 9, but it's not. I wouldn't say this is a great question.
Yeah.
I would rather satisfy another person's needs than satisfy my own needs too.
Yeah.
Because I'm very tolerant and accepting of others as they are in relationships, even those that are important to me, I tend to let things happen and have very few expectations.
9. Yeah. I want to go back to that too. And what was that last 2 question? It was, I tend to satisfy others' needs rather than my own. Again, these questions paint that kind of stereotypical picture, but right, part of that 2 strategy can be, I find it most effective to get my needs met by over trying to satisfy, like rather than just directly asking, I satisfy others' needs in hopes of getting my needs met. So there's some better ways you could word 2 questions other than just, I like helping other people and I don't care for myself.
Right, like they get...
So that kind of question doesn't really get to some of the deeper motives or because we're seeing that kind of, I think we've seen several questions in that kind of variety for 2.
Okay, do you know what I'm understanding about these tests? What really needs to happen is that if someone wants to make an Enneagram test, they need to run it by us first.
Yes.
Everyone in the world, like if you want your license to make an Enneagram test, you need to come to Papa Slim and Elliot, and we will let you know. We
will provide the inter-rater reliability for your Enneagram test, and we'll do it for free. But then if you want the results, we'll do it for free, asterisk. But if you want the results, then there'll be a hidden fee at the end.
There will be a hidden fee. That's right. Okay, I like this. Okay, I naturally feel what others are missing, and I have the desire to fill this gap. 4.
Explain your rationale as I write this down.
I feel what others are missing. That's like, oh, the world like isn't as sensitive as me. Like they're missing all like these nuances of emotional like experience, and I feel them.
Yeah, I totally get that. Again, there's a lot of, this is another one where a lot of these 4-9 questions, I think there's that 4 aspect of wanting some type of union or, I can't remember the word, not like commingling, but some type of union. And can you help me out here? Union is one of the words.
Yeah.
But some type of
harmony, maybe? The harmony is for a 9.
Yeah. So I feel what others are missing and desire to fill this. Yeah.
Like maybe like wholeness, like 4s I think want to feel like the
merging, that merging with another kind of idea. Yeah, I think it could be a 4 or 9, but yeah.
Okay. I do not hesitate to break the rules when it suits me if it respects my personal code of honor. 1.
8. Oh. Break the rules when it suits me if it respects my
personal code of honor. That's like so one's that I think of this like especially politically, like whoever's in charge, if a 1 doesn't like them, they see it as they see it as their moral responsibility to break rules.
And I'm kind of imagining the 8 being like, these are stupid rules. I don't need to. I'm trying to think of examples.
So the first part is an 8. The second part makes me.
It's kind of like the prison thing. It's like, okay, we're all criminals. We're all here, but you're the guy that fucking touched the kid or something like that.
Yeah.
And like that, like, hey, we all had to rob this place at one time to get by because we had shitty situations, but you didn't have to do that, man.
Yeah.
Like you crossed the personal code of honor.
Yeah.
So I kind of think of, that's what this kind of question, that 8 mentality reminds me of.
Okay. I'm kind of split. I could go either way.
Yeah. But yeah, I think you could make a case for 8 or 1 on that type of question. But I think the personal code of honor kind of speaks to that mobster, gangster 8 mentality where there's in some cases some type of rules or expectations. They're just not always the societally agreed upon rules or expectations.
On a little side note, it's super funny. It's like, I think maybe in all men there might be a little of this, but especially like, do you ever see a meme of like Tommy Shelby from Peaky Blinders or like any gangster, Al Capone, like one of these mobsters, and they're like just kind of looking dark and like they're wearing a fedora or something, and it's like, do not take my kindness for weakness or something. And it's like, and it's always posted by like some weird dude online. And I'm just like, why do we all like I watch Peaky Blinders and I see these gangsters. I'm like, oh my God, I am just like Tommy Shelby. There's really very little overlap in reality between me and Tommy Shelby,
Okay.
but I don't know. There's some part of this like,
Well, yeah.
I break the rules if it respects my personal code of honor, which is like a whole bunch of dudes, and I think a whole bunch of like basement dwelling dudes would be like, that's me.
Yeah, it's a deep archetypal masculine kind of principle that everyone has in them to some degree, and some people really run with and express in a large degree, but everyone.
I think if you feel deficient in that area, it'll be more like appealing to try to get in touch with it.
Yeah.
If it were possible, I could very well spend the day doing nothing and resting.
9.
I invest a lot of time and effort into correcting my mistakes, whatever they are. 1.
Yeah.
I know how to easily please and seduce others, even if I'm not particularly interested in them. 3.
Please and seduce. I mean, I get what you're saying, although I think it's a 2 question. I think they're getting at the unhealthy 2 in this. Please and seduce, even if I'm not interested in them.
Okay, yeah, it is kind of like a 3-2-ish area.
Yeah.
Decent question.
Even if I'm not interested in them because I want to feel lovable or I want to be protected. Whereas
Versus,
I know how to easily please and seduce others if it helps me get ahead might be the 3.
Yeah.
Kind of 3 question. But I think even if I'm not interested in them, speak to that desire to get some type of love or affection, to feel lovable in a more personal setting than a group setting. So
I tend to help someone other than myself a lot, and it motivates me. Why can't I read? And it motivates me when my contributions are appreciated too. I feel that I am very different and feel things in a deeper way compared to others as 4.
yeah.
Sometimes I feel envy towards people who have what I don't have. 4.
Yeah, that a lot of people or types could relate to, but it's definitely a 4 question.
4s are a bunch of jealous Janets, in my opinion. It is what it is. I can enjoy most things in life. I know this one.
Okay. I can enjoy most things in life.
7. It's totally a 7 question.
Yeah.
You put a 7 in like a sandbox, they'll be like, oh my God, this is amazing. Let's like make a sandcastle.
I almost wanted to go 9 on that just because like 7s, I'm easily bored. Like stick me in a situation I don't like, or take away interesting stimulus, or make me do. So that's where I think 9 of that kind of Zen, focus on the moment, the breath, just just enjoy being and not needing constant stimulation or interaction.
Just be, man.
So I can enjoy most things in life. Yeah, I think that could be, depending how you read that, that could be a 7 or a 9 question.
Oh man, I just had a realization. So when you're like, just enjoy being, and I was like, yeah, man, just be. It makes me think of this archetype of a certain person who I usually don't like. One of the many types of people I usually don't like. And it's like, hey, Matt, it's the image conscious hippie.
Okay.
Which is like an unhealthy 9-ish, but what I really think they are just unhealthy 3s going to 9. So it's like, hey man, do you ever think about like, don't like overthink, like just be, like that's why I have this crystal, and like don't you want to like look at me now as like someone who's wise, like
so
that
some
kind of
type
thing.
of image where I'm never angry, you should be never angry. I'm like that kind of yeah.
It's maybe
There's some
has some
image manipulation in terms of how you're presenting a peaceful image or something like that.
Yeah.
Like
this has some overlap with the life coach, which I don't think. Have you ever described yourself as a life coach, Elliot?
No.
Okay, good. Because I was just about to say that's one of my friendship disqualifiers. I think if you describe yourself as a life coach, I don't think I can be your friend. And that's
rushes to go change my website right now.
Change it right now. Like, I mean, it's funny because we talk about stuff that maybe life coaches talk about a lot, but it's more about presenting yourself and having the identity of a life coach is that same like 3 pretending they're a 9.
Okay. All right. This could be a topic. I don't want to go too much on it.
All right.
We'll leave it on that.
We'll move on. I often sacrifice my own needs to help others. 2. I tend to detect the imperfections around me and think about how I could improve them. 1. Could be 6, probably 1 though.
Yeah.
I am very personable and find it easy to adapt to new people who I meet. I think I know what they're getting at, but it's not a great question.
Yeah. 3?
3.
Yeah.
I have been accused of being overdramatic, but this is because people do not understand what I am feeling. Oh my God. That's a 4.
4. It reminds me, I mentioned before, the show Modern Family. And that's total cam for anyone who watches Modern Family.
I've not watched it.
And I don't know your gangster movies. So we're just throwing references past each other that don't hit.
Yeah.
But maybe the people who know can tell us whether they watch Brett's mobster crap or my Modern Family comedy and get it. So
I take on challenges by being extremely adaptable and adapt my behavior to meet expectations and to succeed. 3. Easy. Yeah. I am very sensitive and I often express this sensitivity through an art-related activity, writing, painting, etc. 4. I'm going to start reading these in the voice of what I think they're getting at, too.
Yeah, please do that.
Okay. I'm good at seeing and paying attention to the positive side of things, even in difficult situations. Look on the bright side. Okay. Let's do a 1, 2, 3 on this. Ready? 1.
Oh, wait, I think this could be 2, but I gotta figure out which one that I'm gonna lead with. Okay.
1, 2, 3, 7.
Those were the 2 that I was between. See the positive, even in difficult. We kind of talked about this in that archetype name pod, like the best name. And are 7's the optimist or a 3's the optimist?
We did, yeah. And we struggled to come to a conclusion, I remember, because depends on the situation.
3's are always trying to rewrite the script, rewrite the narrative.
Yeah.
How it's not failure, it's just a step on the path to success.
And 7's are always just like afraid of falling into the unhappiness void, so they just run away from it.
Yeah.
My emotions fluctuate between highs and lows, and I don't feel alive when I'm in between. 4.
Yeah.
I often sit back and observe others rather than get involved. 5. I am very wary of others and tend to put their loyalty to the test.
Could it be the loyalist?
Could it be the 6?
I think it might be.
I think it's the 6. I minimize my physical and emotional needs to preserve my personal autonomy. 5. This is 5. I am gifted in presenting things in an acceptable and convincing way. 3. Feeling like I belong to and am loyal to an authority that I can trust means a lot to me. 6. I have a very anxious nature, and I often look for ways to ensure my safety so that I can feel protected.
6.
I'm very good at regulating my impulses, emotions, and desires, which makes me more self-disciplined and stable than most people.
1.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
I thought this was obvious. That super, we talked about that word, super ego, the regulating the impulses, the discipline, the stability. What do you think?
I think you can make it, now that I wasn't thinking 1 at first, I do think that is what they're getting at, but I think you could make a strong case for 5. I think you can make a case for 8 as well.
Yeah, definitely 1 or 5. 8s might be inclined to, regulating impulses, emotions, and desires, but there's that kind of lust for life that 8s can have where it's like, hey, like, more of it, and I blow my temper, and that's not
right. You're right.
Yeah.
They regulate the external world. I don't think they regulate their internal world.
But I agree that 1s and 5s could lean towards the very true. I associate with that kind of statement.
Okay. I'm very cautious, and I am constantly aware of things that could go wrong. 6. I detach myself from my emotions as to avoid emotional overdrive. 5.
The type that's next to the emotional 4. So that produces an interesting wing relationship, doesn't it?
Indeed, young Elliot. I often try to help those who are more serious to relax and laugh more. 7. It can be difficult for me to make myself heard and defend my own ideas when they might go against what others think, for the main reason that I prefer to avoid conflicts and confrontations. They laid this on thick, and it is 9.
Yes.
I'm tenacious against negative emotions, and I don't hesitate to confront others to bring out the truths. There's 2 that it could be.
Tenacious against negative emotions, and I don't hesitate to confront others to bring out the truth. Okay, let's 1, 2, 3 this one.
Oh, geez, I don't know. Because they're 2 different things.
Yeah, I'm
is
feeling a wing vibe. Could maybe let's do 1, 2, 3 in a wing vibe. Okay, so give a type and a wing.
okay. Ready?
1, 2, 3, 6,
8
7.
wing 7.
Okay.
I was going to say 8, 7, or 6, 7.
Yeah. So tenacious against 6 gives me that confront others to bring out the truth, and
8 kind of does too, though.
Yeah.
But the tenacious against negative emotions. Who's tenacious against negative emotions? Kind of 7, right?
Yeah, again, or that's the 3. Always keep it positive, always, but then confront others to bring out the truths. That's an interesting question. Yeah, that's one of the more puzzling ones of what single type and not a wing type that would refer to.
We're almost getting close to the end. Let's keep it moving. I'm often skeptical about the hidden intentions of others. Skeptical spelled with a C, SCEPTICAL. I think this is a test disqualifier for me. You spelled skeptical wrong,
I
bro?
wonder if it's...
Is it English? Do they spell shit like that?
Yeah, I do wonder if there's... I'm used to it with a K, but I do wonder if there are multiple possible spellings. Anyhow, I think the type is obvious.
Yeah, 6.
6, yeah.
I need to have the opinion of my loved ones or an authority I can trust when I need to make a new decision. 6. I tend to prioritize and place much more importance on the other person's satisfaction than my own. 2. I tend to adapt a lot to others to keep the peace and avoid conflicts. 9. I need a lot of alone time to unwind.
Ooh, okay.
1, 2, 3, 5.
4. Yeah.
This is any of the withdrawn types, literally. It can be anyone.
Yeah.
Success is important to me.
3.
I like to have and exercise power. 8.
Yeah.
I often find beauty in weird, strange, and unusual things. 4. God, this test is making me dislike 4s today. I'm just exhausted of them.
I think that's just an ongoing pattern, Brett. I don't think you can put that on the test.
You think more than other types? I kind of dislike all the types.
Yeah, you're kind of the negative Nancy of the Enneagram.
That is true. I've often thought of myself as that. Okay. I am protective and very loyal, but if you betray me, I can become ruthless and avenge myself. This is not only just a 6, but the counterphobic 6.
Oh, I know that. I was going 8 on this. Wow. Okay.
Oh, you're right. Okay, but the 8 and counterphobic 6 they look similar.
Ruthless and avenge. See, but ruthless and avenge myself. I think sometimes the counterphobic 6, it's more.
That's the protective and loyal and betrayed.
To the group or the idea. Like, I'll fight and I'll die for Christianity, or I'll fight and I'll die for America defeating communism. But I think the personal protectiveness and the loyal. But if you betray me,
right, that's 8.
Yeah. So I think but I agree that it's an interesting point that yes, counterphobic 6s and 8s can have a lot of crossover in certain. But
yeah, they look similar. It's just where it's coming from.
But I think the personal touch to this makes it go more in the 8 direction than the 6.
Agreed.
Okay.
And with that, did we do it?
We're almost done. Oh,
is it gonna? Okay, we need to put in an email still, though.
Anyhow, while you're filling in that info, I forgot. I wanted to say this before. We took a test. It was formerly Enneagram.bz, although the site is now Enneagram/personality.com. And they actually boast in their top frame that they have results. 1.4 million results. That's a lot of test takers. Although if you look, they also list some stats of the types that they have. And from that, they draw upon 190,000 people for the Enneagram population distribution. Like X percentage of people are this type and that type. And I have some questions about, does the test even accurately give you your type, which is a discussion here. But even if it did, there'd still be reasons to be skeptical of how those results actually reflect the general population. That's a whole different topic, but just some food for thought.
So to test our hypothesis that if we answered up the middle on every single question, it would give us a 9.
Yes.
That's not correct. It says Papa Slim's results. I scored 0% on every type.
Which makes you a type 1.
No, it doesn't. That just says it goes through.
No, that's what it gave you 0. Okay, so 1. Oh, Papa Slim. We'll have to screenshot this, but your results are 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Your type is uncertain. We advise you to. Yeah. But I guess. So it's saying that, but I think the site and the results are built where they give you one type. So they just gave the type 1
They just spit
here.
one out, Doug.
Yeah, it just spit one out randomly, but it did not give us a type, which is disappointing because now we don't know who we are.
But it does confirm that they're scoring it the way we're scoring it, which I think can kind of be a problem, which is like, how many number 4 Enneagram 4 type questions did you answer yes to or score highly for, and then we give you, okay, it's like, if you know about the Enneagram, then when you're taking the test, it really isn't that useful because you're doing what we're doing, which as soon as you see a trigger word, okay, like loyal, and then you start thinking 6, and then you start thinking to yourself, am I a 6?
Yes.
And then you answer the question with that answer as opposed to the kind of like pure. It's funny, there's like a self-awareness paradox with like this test. Like, you need to be self-aware, but you also can't be self-aware to take the test, which is why I guess no one can take the test.
Test awareness is different than test and concept awareness is different than self-awareness, though. I'm tallying up the amount of questions that we disagreed on. So respond and say something fascinating or interesting, please.
Yeah, I know I was supposed to screenshot our disagreements and I didn't.
Oh, crap. I wrote them down enough to. So going into this, I expected that we would, from just going through the test quickly on myself, it's like, I think these questions are obvious, we'd agree, but we actually had a considerable debate over 17 questions where there were either outright disagreements of, I think this is a type 1 question, you think it's a type 6 question or something like that, or at least where we both acknowledge like it's probably a 9 question, but it's a little vague.
I think that's because that has to do with the ambiguity of the questions and not because of our differing views on the Enneagram, though.
Yeah. Another interesting point is that a lot of the disagreements centered around the withdrawn triad, the 4-5-9, where a lot of those questions specifically didn't seem specific enough to kind of parse out, such as I need a lot of time to myself to unwind. Didn't seem, because I'm interested in thinking about this new theory I'm going on. Okay, well then it's a 5. I need time to unwind because I feel motion so strong. Okay, well then it's a 4. I need time to unwind because it's important to me to regain my sense of balance or equilibrium, right? So it would need that secondary phrase to kind of make it a little more type specific.
What that question was actually asking, if I'm going to explain the test to the makers of this test, they're actually, the way they worded it, they're saying, are you a withdrawn type?
Yeah.
Like that's basically the question. And that's as much info as they gave. So, okay. Where do we go from here, Elliot?
Okay. Well, the first place I wanted to go from here was that I was assuming we'd agree on more questions, in which case we would say the Enneagram test is valid in a limited sense. And again, a lot of the questions were good, and maybe the Enneagram Institute has I think they call it the Ready. I forget what it stands for, but that's kind of like the gold standard. And I know they talk about it being valid and reliable scientifically, but I don't know that they've ever released the data or the test that they've done behind the scenes to justify those claims. But anyway, let's even, I think, hypothetically make the case that whether it's this test or another, the test is specific enough, or you could improve these questions as we're suggesting for our, our fee, our consulting fee.
Yes.
And we could make a great Enneagram test that specifically, pointed to one type over the other. And if you take it with a decent amount of honesty or self-awareness, it's going to spit back what is likely your type at you. And then you'll know your type. Even if that were true, I still don't like Enneagram tests.
Me neither. And I don't like, especially because they're falling into this self-absorbed, narcissistic, like personality test culture. And it's really not, it shouldn't be in that category.
Yes. So that's one of the biggest reasons I have for not liking them is they start you down a path with the wrong premise that limits the usefulness and your ability to actually engage with the Enneagram. And maybe, there's all these promises like get to know yourself, become your best self, understand others, relate to others.
For a small fee.
Yeah. But right, there's all these promises for what the Enneagram can do for you.
Yes.
But here I'm going to parse out that a lot of that depends on not just knowing your type, but understanding the underlying framework and the theory or some of the basic concepts of the Enneagram.
Right.
The benefit is not just in quickly having a test spit out your type to you. Think about it this way. Remove all the context from the Enneagram. All, wings or theory or the idea that there's these core motivations, fears, and desires behind it, and you just know your number.
Mm-hmm.
You're a 5, you're a 2, whatever. You might as well just identify as...
I'm a 10.
Yeah.
I'm a 10, and if you don't validate that I'm a 10, Elliot, you're full of hate.
You might as well just identify as a semicolon or an M dash.
Yes.
Because it's just a meaningless number.
Would you say it's similar then to like when someone like, I'm a Hufflepuff or I'm a Gryffindor?
Yeah, I mean...
Like it's like people have been taking these and they add it to like... You ever see like like back in the day, I was like Girl Scout badges or something. It's like they have like, okay, and I've even seen some people have it in their profile. Like I'm a Gryffindor, I'm an ESFJ.
Yes.
And I'm a 4. I'm an Enneagram 4.
I've
And I'm
seen
like,
some of
this
that
is
on
not...
like personality forums. I'm like, this is a language. I don't even understand this. It's like this whole string. It just reminds me of like, like your list of you take, this is a bad but good analogy. Like you go to a doctor and you have like this whole like stack of like medical records and like these are all your diagnoses.
Yeah.
And it's like you're like
there's some weird pride that shouldn't be there.
Yeah, if you need like pages upon pages of things to like diagnose who you are.
Yeah, I like adding to, they should add to their badge like Gryffindor, I'm an ESFJ, I'm a 4, I have IBS.
Yeah. SXXOE. Like there is a whole language
short-sighted
of things which I'm coming to understand, but I read some of these profiles and I'm like, what is this?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't like the, cause it's ultimately, it's unhealthy because it's like narcissism and being self-absorbed, first of all, but it's also unhealthy because I've come to think of the Enneagram type more as like a sticking point. And I think I started talking to you about this on the phone. But it's like, depends on how deep we want to go on this. I don't think anyone's soul is inherently, when you go back far enough, has any Enneagram type. But when we get this body and we get our genetics and we get our upbringing, it kind of leans towards a certain energy pattern, and that energy pattern I think is more often than not a sticking point. It's something that holds you back.
Yeah.
Than something to be like 7s. Let's go.
I mean, that's like, yeah, that's the like. This has a deep spiritual, metaphysical debate and root to it. Like between like the Buddhist concept of no self. If you dig deep enough into these aggregates and these patterns there. What is their as a stable entity and identity to lay claim to and say, ah, yes, that's me? Or is this aggregate of, well, and that's where the Enneagram is useful if you put it in that context, because you can see what creates all these outer expressions. You can start looking into it on the level of fear and desire and see how all of these things that you identify with so strongly and you take to be self and you get wrapped up in are archetypal patterns coming from fear and desire. And there's a usefulness in labeling them and understanding them to get that clarity about them, to not get swept up in them. But certainly, yeah, going back to the point of maybe the point isn't to label them, not so you identify with them so strongly, but for the opposite reason.
Yeah.
Label them so you can understand them and have some more distance from them.
Yeah, and break out of your sticking points and be a little more versatile. It's kind of like we both played soccer. What if someone was like, I only dribble to the right and I only shoot with my right foot?
Yes.
I mean, granted, it's kind of different because you only have 2 feet, but it's a similar thing. It's like, why are you boxing yourself in like that in the human experience?
Yes. So I think if someone...
Oh man, did I just say the word human experience? Like, I think I got to disqualify myself as a friend. If I heard someone just be like, the human experience, I'd be like, shut up, bro, dude.
I don't have any problem with that, man.
Well, I gotta remove you as a friend now.
That's what Talkin Truth is all about. Digging into the mandala of the human experience. And
Yeah. So did you have something else I also wanted to talk about? We talked about why the test itself maybe isn't great, but I want to talk about why most people probably aren't great at taking the test.
Let's go there, sure.
We'll just go there. Like, we can all picture someone who has not a ton of self-awareness, and we all have blind spots, but some people have their whole life is a blind spot. And I'm just picturing them like taking these tests and just being like, oh yes, I'm very loyal. And I'm like, no, you ain't, bro.
Yeah.
You ain't loyal. Like, now I want to be like, let me take the test for you. Let me take your test for you. I'm more self-aware about you than you, so let me take your test. And that's a joke mostly, but with some people, it sounds douchey. I know it sounds arrogant. They would be better off having me take their test for them. What do you have to say about that arrogance?
I mean, I get the point that you're saying, but then if I'm recommending, or in general it's recommended with the Enneagram, that it's better to not take the test and self-reflect.
Right, 100%.
Then how is that person supposed to get anywhere with the Enneagram?
They're not supposed to take the test.
Okay.
Is what I'm saying. They're supposed to read the types, start poking around internally, like, do I do that? Do I do that? Why do I behave like this? And that's something no one else can do for you, which is the benefit of it.
Which kind of leads me, I outlined several things that are wrong with starting from the perspective of the test, not really understanding the Enneagram, but rushing to your type. And I'm gonna list a couple, but then we're gonna get to the one that you just made.
Okay.
The first one is sometimes people are just blatantly wrong about the Enneagram.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a 4-wing 9.
Yeah.
I'm a 3, and oh my God, I totally disintegrated a 7 the other day. It's like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
Like, again, once you really understand it, you can start to play around with some of, break some of the rules and understand how you're all types. But you're not a 4-wing 9.
Yeah.
As a starting point. All right. So that's one.
Mm-hmm.
The second is, I think we discussed this. The issue is if you figure out your type right away, your type becomes, and it reinforces a simplistic over-identification with types where you rush into, oh, well, I'm this type, so what type am I most compatible with and what type am I not compatible with?
Mm-hmm.
Which is not a personal fault. It's just how people have been trained to view tests that give you a personality type. Like, that's how you interact with those kind of systems.
Right.
You figure out your type and then you ask it questions like, what career should I have? What's my life purpose? Who am I compatible with and who am I not compatible with?
Mm-hmm.
Or it becomes a justification. Well, now that I know I'm an 8, I get to be an asshole and you get to figure out how to deal with it.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to interject quick. Because that's
my personality, bro.
There's another type of thing that another badge that's often added to the vest is the astrology badge. Like, I'm a Sagittarius and therefore I'm this. But that actually has like a more objective, and astrology is a whole nother topic. And I think there's a lot of gray area and there's even more expertise that's needed to analyze it. But in some ways, you can objectively tell your type and be like, okay, you're born on September 21st, you're a Virgo, right? So it's like, that's a very different thing than trying to pick your Enneagram type, because I think there should be some subjective introspection.
Totally.
Which is not something you can look at a chart and be like, oh, I am this. And so it differs from the astrology chart, because you can say, okay, I'm a Virgo. Now I can go straight to extrapolating things about Virgos.
Exactly.
If you pick your type too quick, which is what you were saying,
yes,
and you start extrapolating, you're going to maybe come to a bunch of wrong conclusions because you started at the wrong point.
Yes, there's no objective way to confirm your type. So you might as well start with the introspective route, because there's nothing you can externally look to that's going to confirm or deny it.
Right.
Kind of thing. Okay, so then to the third point is, if you figure out your type right away without understanding the Enneagram that I think you were making, then there's that whole denial. Because, right, you find out you're an INFJ and you read about strengths and weaknesses, and that's kind of fun. Or you find out you're a human design manifesting generator and you find out certain things, that's certain fun. Okay, you find out you're a 3 and you find out, oh, you're the success type, you're the ambitious type, that's kind of fun. But then you read these Enneagram descriptions and you're like,
oh, I'm super fake and deceptive.
but I'm also the cunning, manipulative.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I don't want to be this type anymore. So,
I'm the good part of the 3.
yeah. So let me go take another test, because maybe I actually would be better off being the 7 than the 3.
Yeah.
And then you get stuck in this whole thing of, well, the test told me I'm this type, but I don't want to be this type because I read about the negative, but I lack the context for how that negative is actually a useful thing, how it can be empowering to know why certain types manifest these certain traits when they're unhealthy or stuck in fear, versus how they manifest these kind of higher qualities of essence when they're more conscious about their strategy. So again, if you just rush into type, it's just, oh, I'm these traits, cool. Oh, I don't want to be these traits, so maybe I'm not this type. Let me go try on another type for size. So you get into that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just want to push back a little bit on, you said it's like, oh, you see the negative. We'll take the 3, for example. It's like, oh, I'm a 3. I'm adaptable and, good at becoming successful in different situations. Sweet. Oh, I'm also can be cunning and manipulative and deceptive. And it's like, no. And you rightly pointed out that most people will kind of like run away from that and maybe look to another test. But then you were like, oh, but you fail to see like the importance of seeing those quote unquote negative traits. And I almost want to say, like, any real growth I've had hasn't really been from the reframing of the negative stuff. I'm just like, oh, I should just like not do those negative things. Like, there's like an acceptance of like, oh yeah, I am fake in these situations. Like, I don't see the positive of it. It's something that I need to hit rock bottom and look at and be like, oh man, I'm super fake. Damn it. And then I start kind of, I sulk for a bit and then I brush myself off and then I try to not be fake.
Yeah.
But is that different than what you were saying? Because to me, it's almost
no,
like...
No, it's not. That's what the positive in it is. It's that it allows you to see it and not do that strategy anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying, oh yeah, there's actually like real
there's a
power
positiveness
in
in being
deception.
No.
Okay.
I'm saying the positive, if you're interested in growth, if you're interested in actually finding some type of peace or joy or love within, if you're interested in actually having growth and the signifiers of growth, which are, those qualities of peace, love, joy, or whatever, then it's doing you a favor to recognize the ways you act that are counterproductive to maybe the happiness or the fulfillment that you're seeking. So that's a good thing. But if you're just coming into it looking like, I want to be flattered and I want to know how cool I am, which again, the tests don't give you this context. So at the end of the day, you got people who don't really understand the system, but they just know, I don't want to be my type anymore because I read all this. That's one of the problems.
Yes. And they might not even know why. Again, it's that self-awareness thing. It might not show up like, I don't like what it's, they'll be like, oh, I'm not the negative ones. I should take another test. So it'll just manifest as like a negative pressure. Like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
Like this test is dumb.
Yeah.
But really what's happening is they're feeling the heat of like their, quote unquote flaws, like looking them in the face. And they're like, no, let's do another test.
Or then you're going to Reddit or some online forum and being like, I took this test and I got these results. Now people of Reddit, please make sense of this for me. And then you're picking up a lot of probably bad advice and kind of counterproductive ideas because you're looking to the test to tell you who you are, but then you're looking to the general internet community to interpret the test for you and tell you who you are. And
usually not a great idea.
Yeah, so it gets what's the other path? I mean, that could be a whole different.
What is the other path?
The introspective path. Yeah. I don't necessarily want to go down to there because I think it'd be another episode. I just want to point to the importance of it and say that the struggle is actually important. The introspective struggle. I kind of relate to that type when I read about
this
the
is a total sidetrack, but I'm pretty sure Hitler said something like that.
Oh, come on,
the struggle is important. Sorry. I'm not saying you're like Hitler.
Oh. No, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be the type that's like Hitler.
Okay. All right,
come on. That's not my type. See, I read about I'm this type, but now I read the celebrity types and the examples, and I'm the Hitler type.
Okay,
I don't want to be that type.
Yeah. The Voldemort type. Why'd I get Voldemort on my Harry Potter quiz?
Come on. I want to be the Martha Stewart. No, actually, I don't because she went to jail. I want to be the Michael Jordan type. I don't want to be the Hitler type.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You go.
Yeah. So the struggle is important because in the struggle, you learn the system. In the struggle, you're forced to actually look at yourself and learn about the things that matter and learn about how to use the Enneagram.
Mm-hmm.
And a test doesn't give you that. Even if it's accurate, even if you take it and it ends up being accurate because I think it puts you on the wrong foot.
So it almost seems like any external references that you're participating in with the Enneagram journey should really just be references to help you go back on your inner journey.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you could take a test, but don't look at that as the way you should take a test is see how much inner chatter there is during each question. See how much resistance there is to like certain feelings coming up during each question. See what resistance or like excitement comes up when you get the results, and then take that and go back to your introspective journey.
Yeah. And that's kind of the conciliatory answer, where it's like that's the usefulness of tests, but then you can also just make the answer. They give you the wrong premise and they give you the wrong understanding, so they're totally counterproductive.
Right. So gray area. I think we're going to come to a gray area conclusion about like, can tests be useful? Yes, but in general, they're probably, I would say they're not.
Yeah. So I got a closing metaphor that I've thought about a lot to kind of going on this theme of maybe the path that you took to arrive at the destination or to get the answer actually matters. And how you got there matters, not just that you get there. Such as, did you go the introspective path or did you go the test gave me the answer path?
So like the real test was the friends we made along the way.
Yeah.
The real test was the journey of taking the test. Not to belittle
disqualification statement right there.
Yeah, not to belittle your point, but I think that is I agree with your point.
But here's my metaphor.
Okay.
So I'm a musician. I'm thinking a lot about music. We talked about it on past podcasts. And I think about how people learned music in the past versus how they may learn music now. And there's a lot of different ways you could go with this. But I think about how I would read interviews with, say, idols of mine, just guitar players who I really liked. And they would talk about, I wore out this vinyl. because I had to repeat it over and over to learn these parts. And, in some ways that seems like a really inefficient way, because nowadays you can just go online and you can look up the tab. And at the end of the day, whereas that guy who had to replay the vinyl and just try to listen and learn the song, might take him all the day to learn one song. You can go online, you can look up the tabs, you can learn 5 songs, 10 songs in a day. But in one, that process and that struggle, you're actually learning music. You're training your ear. You're learning to recognize, this note has this level of consonance or this level of dissonance, and I like how that sounds.
You're also learning the subconsciously the context of how you're also learning about stuff you're not even trying to learn about.
Yes.
Like drums.
Yes.
And say you're trying to learn a guitar lick and you listen to it 400 times, you're going to subconsciously learn about how the bass and drums interact with that guitar lick.
Yeah, you're picking up so much information. But the tab route, so in one, you're learning music, and maybe then you're learning a little theory, this sounds like that because, or this is that same pattern that I recognized, this sounds like that. And, this is this pattern now. This is when the 1 chord switches to the 4 chord, something like that. Whereas if you go the tab route, you get those quick results. You learn the song, but at its worst, you've just become a mechanical monkey or a parrot. Like, you can learn this sequence of hand gestures that produces these notes and is that song, but it doesn't have the same generalizability. And this is where I've been kind of going back on my own music journey, because I learned in that tab route where I learned how to play the things. I looked up and I thought in music of terms of, this song is, I go from the 5th fret to the 8th fret and then the 7th fret, and that's this song. But in those cases, you really only know the song that you learned. And if you forget, the muscle memory mechanics of it, it's gone because that's all you've built it on.
Right.
But if you learn music, say the more traditional immersion route by learning it by ear, yes, it takes a little bit longer to learn that one song, but then you can show up to a jam and you can do my favorite thing, which is to improvise, to actually speak music with other musicians, because you understand the language of it, you understand the subtleties of it, and you can respond to something unique in the moment. You can create something because you have a deeper, fundamental, conceptual, intuitive understanding of the system. You've given your dues.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing relates back to the Enneagram test. You can go the introspective route that we kind of laid out about turning it back, asking these questions, and it may take you a little bit longer to get to your type than if you take the test and go that route. But the person who went the route understands the context of the type. They understand the system. They understand the usefulness of knowing your type. They can generalize that into life situations in terms of trusting themselves, because they understand these archetypal themes and narratives that they've had to go through in themselves. Whereas the person who just takes the test is always like, what type am I again? What type am I most compatible in? There's no ability to improvise. There's no ability to necessarily see how.
There's no practical application.
Yes, it's just a badge. It's just a profile flare.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and I was thinking that the music, and now we're just going to talk about music, but it's also like when you listen to a lot of music as opposed to taking the tab route, you can then also be in conversations with mixing engineers, like, that guitar sounded like that, like it all sounded like thin and nasally, and that was cool. And that's something you didn't intend to learn when you were trying to learn the riff. You just heard Rolling Stones riff 400 times, and you're like, there's something nasally about it or something. And that's, again, it's just, there's so much more richness and realness and applicability when you actually get in the dirt, get in the trenches, get your hands dirty, and work with the Enneagram or anything for that matter.
Yeah. So again, the struggle is an important part to be embraced, because that's where the Enneagram can actually perhaps deliver on some of its promises of transformation. Just getting your number back from a test is not going to deliver on what the Enneagram can deliver on if you take the time to sit down with it, like the music example.
Agreed, Elliot. That's a great example. That's a great metaphor.
Well, thank you, Brett.
Yes.
All right. Well, anything more to say on this topic for today?
I have a lot more to say, but I think this is a good place to put a bookmark in it, and we'll pick back up next time.
Sounds good.
Cool, bro.
All right.
Boo.